There's stacking to this whole game. Imagine it was actually good. You had some eyeglasses like Tony Stark. You could just see all this hidden metadata in everything that you look at. Imagine that for a second, that you have piles of information and you can instantaneously draw out the important stuff and set down the rest. That's the hell yeah moment for me. Dan got in Slack in the general channel. He tagged the whole company. And I remember the message. It was chat GPT must use, not a request. This is awesome. Post in thread how you're using it. Ready, set, go. What I loved about that was it wasn't, hey, here's 15 different things. Do exactly what I'm doing. It was go use this new thing. It's awesome. Surprise everybody else with your creativity. If you haven't done that and you haven't empowered your teams and said, like, just go dig into this thing, give them permission. Point them in that direction and see what they do, because some of the stuff, and it wasn't even just work, it was generating recipes for stuff that people like to cook. It was awesome. I want to ask you guys a question to get this started, right? Show of hands, who here has a team making sales for them, doing anything other than founder-led sales? Who are the founders still doing sales themselves? Regardless of which hand you put up, for those of you that have a sales team, think back to the day that somebody named not you made that first sale and what that felt like. For those of you that are doing all of the sales, imagine what it's gonna feel like. But just take a second and think about that emotion, how it would feel, the amount of time that you realize just got freed up because there's somebody else doing things and driving business results for you. Does it feel good? The way I think about AI, this is a technology that's very rare in the sense that it can put a similar type of leverage into every single area of the business. It's crazy. Like, do you guys follow Naval Ravikant? Wrote something really, really famous, I would consider it famous, called the 4 different types of leverage, right? He talks about collaboration and capital, right? Collaboration, meaning you can hire teams. Capital, you can raise money. They both require people's permission, but they put leverage into your business, right? That makes sense? Then you've got permissionless types of leverage, code and content. This is the kind of technology that can add leverage everywhere, faster, less expensive, better, but it's not a silver bullet. So what I'm gonna do today is talk through how you can use it. You know, I made a joke on LinkedIn. I said I'm gonna do a talk about how to use AI in your company in a way that doesn't suck. That is kind of what we're here to do, because there's a lot of ways that you can get mediocrity out of it, but used properly, it can put things on rails in ways you haven't imagined. Show of hands, who's got an EA in the room? An executive assistant, or somebody supporting you. The reason I ask, I'm a big old time blocking nerd, right? I got 30-minute blocks on my calendar to accomplish a task, and it's a beautiful thing. It makes me feel really happy. It's color-coded, it's great. And I remember when I hired an assistant, and I had 30 minutes to work on an SOP. And I said, I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna buy back some time. I'm gonna use the camcorder method, shoot a video, and have them write it. And I edited it instead of authored it, and it took me 8 minutes. And for the first time in my life, I said, what the hell am I gonna do with these other 22 minutes? I gotta figure this out. It's an amazing feeling, right? Leverage, again, but that is still human-facilitated leverage. How do we take that? Just like Miranda talked about, right? There's stacking to this whole game, right? So now I have that human being to put leverage into my life. Amazing. But what if the machine, the technology, can do that first-round editing, and now they can get 5 or 10 documents that I need ready faster, and I can go through and approve them all in 30 minutes, and all of a sudden I've 10x the return on that 30-minute block in my day. Think through that. The increase in compounding leverage that you can get from using this technology is crazy because it's so much faster to edit something than it is to author it. I want a few first-time shares.
There's a lot that you can do. One of the cooler things that I've recently found is it'll write WordPress plugins for you, and we can like give them out to our audience and things like that. So you can just say, write me something in PHP that does this. And you just tell it what you want it to do, and it'll spit out the PHP code, and then you just tell it, okay, cool, now put that into a WordPress plugin, and it'll literally spit out a WordPress plugin in a minute or two, and you just put that on a WordPress site, and you have like little micro utility apps and things like that.
What would that cost you to outsource, do you think, to a mid-range developer?
At least a couple $100. It does it for free. So.
Yeah?
Very cool.
I love it. Entire WordPress plugins.
The other thing is it's great to write blogs. I give it a couple bullet points, a couple ideas. It goes and writes an article for us. We just published an article in one of our trade organizations that ChatGPT wrote.
I write content, I write strategy for our businesses, and we're actively launching a major training company for our organization, our industry. And just putting in a couple keywords, it just saved me probably 10 to 20 hours a week. And it was very specific. We're in a niche market, power sports, and it was able to populate those key terminologies and the key titles that we just have to elaborate. So when you think about your human systems are as only strong as your processes, and your processes are only as strong as your human systems, this could be an answer.
I appreciate it. 10 to 20 hours a week out of somebody in this room, that's 20 bucks a month if you got to buy the pro version. Good grief. Talk about ROI. Thank you, Taylor. Some of the things that came out of that we are using today in the business, in marketing, we're using it to generate variants on email subject lines for email marketing. We're using it to input stacks of research to draw out key insights. It's one of the things it's best at is drawing out the commonalities and trends from unstructured information. Overcoming objections, like even in sales training, like there's McCaffrey in the back there, and we can use it to figure out 3 or 4 different ways to overcome the most common objections from the sales teams. You can use it to just get some ideas on what you might want to train against. In CS, exactly what Kim's example was, drafting email templates, right, to respond to clients in certain ways. Now, we don't automate the experience. Every email from Saas Academy comes from a human being, but when they're trying to figure out how should I structure my response, how can I do this in a way that's efficient, it's a tool that helps them go faster, right? And in operations, near and dear to my heart, man, this thing can write some Excel formulas. Whew, it is cool. Can literally describe to it, I've got this in column B and this in column C, and I want a spark line that shows me my progress to goal, and it gives me exactly what I need, and I punch it in the spreadsheet and it's right. I literally typed this into Discord, a dystopian urban cityscape. You can read it, right? Got all my creative writing on, and it spit this out. Legit, like that's it. Gives you 4 variants, you pick the one you like, it increases the resolution, you download it and use it. It's ridiculous. And last but not least, and this is really where we can land the plane, is going back to that ARR per headcount, going back to employee bandwidth. Like guys, I don't know if you know this, but you're in the throughput game. That is what we do. We build machines. Our businesses are a machine. I'm going to ask you a question. Has anyone read the book The Goal by Eli Goldratt? Yes. Everyone who says yes, they're like, yes, because it's so good. This is one of the required books if you're part of management at Amazon that Jeff Bezos says you have to read this. And it's all about how to look at business development and architecting an organization as if it were an assembly line. Where do you put the inputs? Where do you put the quality assurance points? As if it were literally a manufacturing plant to find the efficiencies to get the most throughput that you can from the company. This is what we're talking about, increasing employee bandwidth. If you take nothing away from my talk, other than what I'm about to say, make it this. Don't take this as a novelty and set it down and go home and get back to your day-to-day. What I would recommend you do is put this, whether you're like me and you want a Post-it note, I put Post-it notes on my monitor, I'm a weirdo, right? Bookmark it, set it as the open screen on your browser. Whatever you need to do to build the muscle into your head that says, how could I use ChatGPT to make this next task go faster? Just think through that. If you do that for 2 weeks, you will find the next gear. If your whole team does that for 2 weeks, like Dan inspired our team to do, your whole team will find your next gear. That is what gets you to the efficiency that you want. That's what gets you to the growth you want and the production you want.